Have you ever added up everything you're paying every month? Not just the rent, not just the car. I'm talking about everything. The phone you're paying off in installments, the gym membership, the streaming services, the sofa, the clothes, that trip you financed because the payments fit in the budget. If you've never added all of that up at once, it's probably because, deep down, you don't want to know the number. And that makes sense, because that number is scary. Most people don't end up in debt because of one big mistake. They end up there because of dozens of small yeses that seemed harmless at the time. An $80 payment here, $120 there, $240 on a financing plan that looked like a good deal. And suddenly, without anyone being able to point to the exact moment it happened, half of your salary is already gone before you've even made a conscious decision about it. This is the most efficient mechanism the financial system has ever created. It's not a scam. It's not illegal. It's simply the way small monthly payments completely disconnect our sense of the real cost. And today I'm going to show you exactly how this works, why it's so hard to escape, and what to do to get out of this trap before it costs you something you won't be able to recover. My name is Tim, and I spend far too much time thinking about financial behavior, why smart people make bad decisions with money, and how small, invisible habits determine who will build wealth and who will stay in the same place for decades. If you want to truly understand money and not just receive generic advice that doesn't work, subscribe to the channel and leave a like if this video changes the way you think. Now, before we continue, let me ask you a simple question. When you see a product that costs $3,000 and the store offers 24 interest-free installments, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? If you're like most people, the first thing you calculate is the monthly payment. $125 a month? I can fit that in. And that's exactly where the trap closes. Because your brain just replaced the right question with the wrong question. The right question is, do I have $3,000 available to spend on this right now? The wrong question, the one installment plans force you to ask, is, can I afford $125 a month for the next 2 years? Those are completely different questions, and the second one is much easier to answer yes to. This phenomenon has a name in behavioral psychology. It's called cost disconnection. When you pay in full, your brain registers the pain of spending that amount. There is a real emotional response to the large number. But when you pay in installments, that pain is distributed into such small doses that it almost disappears. You don't feel like you're spending $3,000. You feel like you're spending $125. And $125 doesn't seem like much. The problem is that everyone around you is doing exactly the same thing at the same time, with different things. Your coworker financed a laptop. Your neighbor financed a new car. Your friend is still paying for the TV he bought 2 years ago. And when everyone around you is doing it, it feels normal. It feels like that's just how things work. But normal and healthy are two completely different things. Here is the number nobody tells you. The average person who regularly uses installment payments has between 8 and 12 active monthly financial commitments at the same time. Each one individually seems reasonable. But when you add everything together, you're talking about 40, 50, sometimes 60% of a salary committed to things that have already been purchased. To the past. You're paying for the past with the money that should be building your future. And here is the cruelest detail of this trap. It grows too slowly for you to notice. It's not like losing money in a bad investment or a bet, where you clearly see the loss. It's more like a slow leak. Month after month, the space you have to breathe financially gets smaller. You're never in a full-blown crisis, but you're never moving forward either. And the feeling is that something is missing, but you're not sure exactly what. What's missing is margin. Margin is the difference between what comes in and what you have already committed before making any new decisions. When margin is large, you have power. You can invest, take advantage of an opportunity, or face an unexpected expense without panic. When margin is small, or worse, when it doesn't exist, you are permanently at the mercy of circumstances. Anything outside the plan becomes a crisis. And do you know what happens when someone without margin encounters an opportunity? They can't act. That course that could change their career, that business opportunity a friend is starting, that investment that appears at the right moment. The answer is always the same. I can't right now. I'm a little tight. Not because the person is irresponsible, but because every small installment they accepted over time quietly stole their ability to act when it actually mattered. Now let me show you the real number. Let's suppose you earn $5,000 a month. It sounds like a reasonable salary. But you have rent, which takes $1,500. A financed car, $600. Car insurance, $200. Phone payments, $80. A gym membership you barely use, $50. 3 streaming services, $45. The sofa you bought last year, $90. That trip you financed, $220. Clothes on the credit card, $160. Some electronic equipment, $140. Before buying food, before paying any utility bills, before saving a single dollar, you have already spent $3,095. More than 60% of your salary on the past. And this scenario is not extreme. This is the average reality of millions of people who believe they are doing okay. The difference between getting by and building wealth is not the salary. It's how much of your money reaches the future before being consumed by the past. But here's what truly worries me about this pattern. It's not just the money. It's what this situation does to your ability to think. When your margin is compromised, your brain enters financial survival mode. You start thinking about the short term because the short term is what threatens you. You stop thinking about growth because growth requires mental space you no longer have. Research in financial behavior clearly shows that scarcity of resources is not just a mathematical problem. It's a cognitive one. Lack of money literally reduces your ability to make good financial decisions. It becomes a vicious cycle. You're tight, so you use installments to get what you need now. Installments reduce your margin. With less margin, you become more vulnerable. When something goes wrong, you finance again to solve it. And with each cycle, it becomes a little harder to get out. So how do you escape? The answer is not to cut everything at once and live like a monk. That doesn't work because it isn't sustainable. The answer is to create what I call an honest inventory of your future commitments. Take a piece of paper, a spreadsheet, or anything else, and list absolutely everything you will pay over the next 12 months that has already been decided. Not what you want to spend, what you have already promised to spend. The number that appears is usually shocking. But that shock is exactly what you need, because most people make installment decisions looking only at the current month. Never at the accumulation, never at how much of the future has already been committed. When you see the real number, you begin to make different decisions. The second step is to create a simple, non-negotiable rule for yourself. Before taking on any new monthly commitment, ask, does this fit into my current margin without reducing what I'm saving? If the answer is no, then the answer to the product is also no. Regardless of the size of the installment, regardless of how the store presents the benefit of paying in installments. The small payment is just the method they use to convince you to say yes to something you can't truly afford right now. And here is the point that separates the people who stay trapped from the ones who get out. The people who truly build wealth are not necessarily the ones who earn the most. They are the ones who consistently maintain a large margin. They protect that margin as if it were their most valuable asset, because that's exactly what it is. Margin is freedom. Margin is the ability to say yes when it matters and no when it doesn't. Margin is what separates the people who react to life from the people who design it. The entire consumer credit system was built to convince you that the installment is the price. It isn't. The price is the total value. The installment is just the packaging that makes the price look smaller than it really is. And every time you accept that packaging without questioning what's inside, you're trading a piece of your future for a feeling of convenience in the present. That doesn't mean credit is always bad. A well-structured mortgage can be one of the best financial decisions you make. Investing in education or tools that increase your income can be worth every cent. The question is not whether you use credit or not. The question is whether you are using credit to build something or to consume something you couldn't otherwise afford. The difference between those two things is the difference between using the system in your favor and letting the system use you. Credit that creates an asset, increases your income, or strategically solves a real problem works for you. Credit that finances a desire you could have lived without for now works against you. And that kind of credit works 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, silently, month after month, until one day you add everything up and finally see what has been happening. The biggest favor you can do for yourself today is not cutting coffee or canceling streaming services. It's sitting down and adding up everything you are paying that was decided in the past. It's confronting that number without looking away. Because when you clearly see where your money is going, you begin making decisions based on reality, not on the illusion that a small installment has no weight. Your future self will look back and thank you every time you said no to an unnecessary payment, every time you chose margin instead of immediate satisfaction, every time you protected your future from a convenient decision in the present. Start today. Make the inventory. See the real number. Then decide what you want to do with it.